Hi everyone! Today I'm going to play with the Sennelier woodless pastel pencils. And if you have seen my previous video, which was an art supplies haul, you might have seen that I got a box of 24 half pencils that I got during my visit in Paris. Up to now, I had only done a little sketch with them, and I thought it was fun to use. But today, I'm going to just try and see what else I can do with them. So first, I decided to do some swatches because even though they are not coated with anything, and so you can see, the color that you can see on the pencil is what you get on the paper, I just want to get a feel for them. They are semi-hard pastel pencils, so they are not going to be as soft as most pastel pencils, and that is the reason why those pencils have a wood casing around them to protect the soft core. These, because they are woodless, they're going to have to be harder than usual, so I did not have any expectations as far as the softness is concerned. So I'm not going to compare them with other pastel pencil brands because most of the reviews out there do. And I don't have very many brands anyways, so today is all about the Sennelier pastel pencils. I used a sample paper pad of the Rembrandt pastel paper in industrial gray, and they worked pretty well. Again, they're not super soft, and a few of them are a bit scratchy, but I must say I think it's the nature of the beast. Often with some pigments, some are softer than others. It's just like, let's say, with oil pastels, for instance, some of the greens are notoriously gummy, and no matter what brand you use, it's not a matter of the quality of the brand, it's just the pigment itself. It's just hard to make it better. I've seen in some brands of colored pencils that it happens also that some of them are a little scratchier than others. Not much, but you can tell the difference. So for these, the scratchy pastel pencils are pretty scratchy, and it's kind of annoying. But I thought that, they probably could work anyway, and I was actually thinking that maybe there is a coating and maybe I should use some sandpaper to remove it. So I'm going to try that later on. And before I started drawing, I decided to watch other people's reviews because I like doing that. It gives me ideas of what to talk about and things that I should look for when I try my pastel pencils. I must say that I was a bit worried because a lot of reviews are a bit negative. There are a few very positive ones, but I noticed that between the negative and the positive reviews, the negative reviews are often from artists who are mainly pastel artists. So they have their own techniques, they're used to using specific brands and specific tools with specific papers. And it seems like these Sennelier pencils aren't up to par with their technique and what they're used to use. The more positive reviews were from artists who enjoy trying a variety of art supplies. And I don't know if it means they were more open-minded. They didn't have a specific expectation on what to find, what to get, like an end result, and they seem to have fun with them. So for a while I was wondering if I should regret my my purchase, but if anything, if I didn't like drawing with them, I knew that I did enjoy sketching with them, so I could still use them in that way. One thing that I read many places, reviews or comments, is that they do not work with Pastelmat. Unfortunately, that's the paper I wanted to use these pencils with because it's one of my favorite pastel papers. and I decided to use it anyway. So I found a reference photo and I started working on the goggles. At first I was thinking that I was going to do the whole thing, the whole portrait with the pencils. And that's what I did with the goggles. And I had so much fun. As you can see, they work very well on Pastelmat. I had no problem whatsoever, at least with the colors that I used. And so with my first drawing session, I did this whole thing in several days, actually. But I drew the goggles in one shot, and it was so much fun and so enjoyable that I ended up buying more pencils. So I had, when I came back from France and I used those pencils to do my little sketch, I liked it so much that I bought a few more pencils, but I got some full-size ones because I think that's the only ones you can get open stock. Unfortunately, on the Dick Blick right now, they are back ordered until December, but I was lucky enough to get a few of them. So I've got my 24 half pencils plus 7 full-size ones. I've got a few on back orders, and I was going to say that since I drew the goggles, I enjoyed it so much that I ended up ordering all those that I hadn't ordered yet. So hopefully by December, I will have the full range of 48 colors. So right there tells you how I feel about those pencils. So when I continued onto the face, I decided that I should try playing with other pastel supplies to see if I could use them together with those pencils. So I used a bit of the Sennelier Extra Soft Pastels. I didn't really push very hard because I didn't want to saturate the paper in one go. So I did a layer of the skin with those, and I blended them. And then I was able to use the pencils on top of that with no problem at all. Again, I didn't use a very thick layer, so that's probably why it works so well. And then later on, I applied some pan pastel over it, and then I was able to add even more of the pencils over it. So I think, from what I tried, they work very well in combination of everything. I used some makeup sponges to blend them. First, those pencils, they blend with each other very well, and then they blend very well with my finger. They blend very well with the sponges, so I'm very happy with that too. Now, I've got an idea of why maybe some people say that these pastel pencils do not work with Pastelmat. I think that often because the regular or the other brand of pastel pencils, they're very soft. So when you draw a line, for instance, on pastel paper, you've got a good amount of pigment being deposited onto the paper. With those, they're harder, and it's not the case unless you push very hard. Or you use a paper that's more coarse, like maybe a sanded paper, something that has a bigger tooth that will grasp the pigment more and make a beautiful, juicy line. Now, I think that my background in colored pencils helped me with this, because I've drawn with colored pencils for years, for many, many years. And with colored pencils, if you want to achieve high saturation, the best way is to start with very light layers and add layers on top of layers on top of layers. So it's pretty labor intensive, but with patience, you end up with a beautiful result. And the colors are nice and rich and vibrant. And that's what I did with these pastel pencils on the Pastelmat. I went very lightly, but I kept on adding layers upon layers, and you can see that very well when I focused mostly on the goggles, because it really started building the intensity of the colors. And I have found it very satisfying. So that's why I say maybe that's because I'm used to use colored pencils that are essentially harder. I mean, they're waxier than pastel pencils in general. And so you can never have like a big juicy line like with a pastel pencil. So yeah, I think that's why I was able to find my way and get a result that I liked. So yeah, I really like these pencils. I don't have any negative points about them. I like that they are just pigments wrapped in paper that you can remove the paper a little bit at a time. I don't think I'll ever need to use a sharpener because as you use them, and often I use them on their side, not on the tip. I only use the very tippy tip to draw fine lines, and oh my gosh, you can draw so many nice details with those pencils. It's awesome. With the other brand of pastel pencils, it can be so frustrating to try to draw fine lines and just to have them break on you because you push a little too hard. And even just trying to sharpen them, unless you use a knife, it's pretty tricky. So not even having to sharpen these pencils is a treat. Just, rotate them as you use them, especially if you use them on their sides, and they'll sharpen themselves. If anything, if you need a sharper point, just use a little block of sandpaper and then just sharpen them real quick like that, and that's it. One of the great features of a semi-hard pastel is that it's not very dusty. And these pastel pencils, even when applying pretty hard, although I didn't apply them very hard most of the time, they hardly produced any dust. So the result was a mostly mess-free painting, which I really appreciate. I'm not saying there was no dust at all. There was some, but it was minimal compared to using very soft pastels. Now, one question, would I use them on regular paper, like Canson Mi-Tinte, for instance? I don't know if they would work as well, or if I would enjoy them as well on regular paper or just paper that's not a little bit rough, because I don't think they would grab the pigments as much, and it probably would be a bit more work. You need a little bit of tooth to your paper for these. So the only con, really, the only thing that is a shame, but I can't blame Sennelier for that. I think it's normal. It's the few harder, scratchy pencils that are in the set. I was able to use them anyway, and I used them on their side very lightly and blended them, and it worked well. It was not as enjoyable to use those, but I made it work, and hopefully with the other colors coming eventually in December, none of them will be like that. Crossing my fingers for that. I'm hoping that maybe in the future, once Sennelier sees all those feedbacks from artists about the scratchiness, maybe they'll try to improve it and figure out a formula to make those specific colors better. As far as the price is concerned, it's an investment up front. I get it. It's usually like that with high quality materials. But if you compare them with the other pencils, you'll see that considering the amount of pigments you're getting in with those, there's a lot more than in a regular pencil, since there's no wood, and they're quite thick. So price-wise, they're not that bad. So in the end, I enjoyed painting this portrait. I'm not sure I like the color of the skin very much, but I didn't want to use too much of the pan pastels or the Sennelier extra soft pastels. I wanted to be more about these pastel pencils rather than anything else. So because my color range is not the best right now, It kind of looks like this little boy has some foundation on his face. But once I get the other colors in December, I'll most likely revisit this portrait and fix the skin tone a little bit so that it looks a bit more natural. Okay, I'll stop now because I feel like I'm rambling. All in all, great product. I really like it. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you like this review. If you have tried these, whether you like them or don't like them, let me know in the comments. I'm always interested to know how people like the products that I have tried and the reason why they like it or they dislike it. There's always something to learn. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye-bye.